Hello and welcome back to tea, coffee, or whatever you would like to drink at the Ritz. And today I want to do second part of how to have fabulous skin when you're older. I left you on a little bit of a cliffhanger yesterday about my own skin and the battles that I've had with that all through my life. And today I want to tell you how I overcame that terrible problem that I had with acne rosacea. And I really did it because I recognised that the problem was to do with what I was eating. Now, I need to tell you very briefly what my relationship with food has been all my life, because it has been slightly bizarre. I suppose from the age of about 20 until I was about 40, food for me was a battleground. It was a battleground of either starving myself or binging. There was no happy medium. My weight would go up and down, and I was in this absolute struggle to find a way to eat that would work for me in terms of my diet, and I never found it, basically. I was also during that time looking after a family, so I was cooking the kind of meals that you would expect me to cook: roasts. I would make cakes and desserts, puddings, shepherd's pies, all cottage pies, all that sort of stuff. Normal food that you would expect somebody with a young and growing family to make. And I was during that time engaged in this battle with my own weight, and my skin wasn't great during that time, I have to say. I got divorced in my early 40s and no longer then was having to produce foods for the family. And for the first 6 months after I got divorced, and I probably shouldn't be telling you this because it's a terrible story against myself, but I used to go out and buy 7 Weight Watchers prawn curries, which were boil in the bag, and the only equipment that I had in the kitchen of the flat that I bought was a saucepan, a kettle, and a pair of scissors, and I had a few plates and knives and forks. And every night when I came in from work, I used to throw one of these boil in the bag things into the boiling water. 20 minutes later, I'd cut the top off, put the food onto a plate and eat it. And I did that 7 days a week for 6 months. I only ate Weight Watchers prawn curries. I did it because I just couldn't be bothered. I was totally uninterested in food, and all I cared about was that I got something in my stomach so that I wouldn't be too hungry when I went to bed. I think from that moment I saw food not as a battleground but as a terrible inconvenience, and I therefore was delighted when very nearby to me opened up a Marks and Spencer's food hall, and in it I discovered the delights of their ready meals. So from the age of 40 until I was very nearly 70, probably every evening when I wasn't going out, I ate a Marks and Spencer's ready meal. I found them absolutely delicious, and they usually had incorporated within them some kind of vegetables, so I wouldn't buy extra vegetables. That's what I would eat. Lunch times, I would eat sandwiches. I was often on the go, so grabbing a prawn and mayo sandwich was what I would eat. And breakfast, I would have a banana with a cup of tea. Also, 4 o'clock, I would have a very generous piece of cake and another cup of tea. So that would be my pattern of eating. And I made no connection between that fairly appalling way of eating, if you like, with the state of my skin, until I was having conversations with my lovely personal trainer, who's called Lindsay, who has a terrible problem herself with sugar. It makes her feel extremely unwell, and she now no longer eats sugar at all. We were talking about it, and I just thought, do you know what? If I really look at my diet, it's fairly appalling. And I bought this book, actually, which is called The Food Doctor. And it's brilliant, and it lists at the beginning all the very, very best foods and all the nutrients and so on in those foods. And I became absolutely fascinated by the whole thing. And a lot of the advice in there is about to do with various illnesses that can be caused because your diet isn't optimal. And lo and behold, there was quite a big section in there about skin. And I just started thinking about what I was eating. ice cream. I ate quite a lot of ice cream. For about 3 years, I ate 2 Mars bar ice creams every day. You know, that would be my treat, my pudding, whatever. And all the ready meals, the lack of vegetables, the bread at lunchtime, and I just thought, you know what, I think I could do better than that. So I literally started on a completely different regime, almost overnight. So breakfast became, instead of just a banana, it became a mixture of fruit, including things like blueberries. I'd sprinkle on pumpkin seeds and a mixture of pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds and so on. And I also discovered that the zero-fat yogurts that I was eating, because I was permanently watching my weight in the sense of being careful, were full of sugar. So I cut those out, substituted full-fat Greek yogurt, would have that with my breakfast, and of course it was delicious, very satisfying and very tasty. Lunchtime, no bread. Totally cut out the sandwiches. If I was on the run, I'd try and find a pret-a-manger and buy an avocado and crayfish salad, or one of their other delicious salads. If I was at home, I'd make my own salad. I started eating goat's cheese, which I found was absolutely delicious to keep my protein levels up. And then no puddings at all, apart from Greek-type yogurts and things like that. In the evenings, I absolutely banished the ready meals, refused to buy those anymore, and started to cook fresh. But because I'm a terrible cook, I hate cooking, hate it. I decided to keep it as simple as I possibly could. So I have substituted for meat. Most of the time, I do occasionally eat meat, but I have substituted a lot of fish. Omega-3 high, good in the fatty acids, lots of salmon, tuna, and I cook it very simply, very quickly. It's often bake it in the oven, and I eat it with fresh vegetables, including potatoes. I don't eat pasta. I try and eat nothing that's produced in a factory outside of 1 or 2 items. I try and eat everything that is either growing in the ground or has been produced as freshly as possible. Let's put it that way. For my big lump of cake at 4 o'clock, I've substituted something quite delicious, actually, some Nairn oat cakes, which are, you can get them in chocolate chip variety. Now, they've got a 45% less sugar than a normal biscuit. They've only got 40 calories in, but they're crisp and delicious. And I have a couple of those with a cup of tea, and that satisfies my sweet craving. No ice cream anymore. I just literally don't eat ice cream. And I do have my Bendix Bitter Mint chocolate every evening, which is my one really, really very sweet indulgence. Now, the result of all of that is that my food is very, very nutritious, incredibly satisfying, and as a result, my skin has completely, radically transformed. In the past, I've tried all sorts of things that I've got from the doctor. I tried going to a Clinique counter and getting their purifying regime and cleansing for bad skin and all that kind of thing. I didn't need it then, and I don't need it now, because I'm eating the foods that my skin loves. My hair is better, my nails are stronger, I sleep better because my food isn't full of all sorts of rubbish that I'm trying to digest. So my whole system, I feel now, has been radically altered in a very positive and good way. I want to do another video about this. I promised you this some time ago, and I will do it. Perhaps I'll do it next week, eating for longevity, because I've educated myself so much over the last 2 or 3 years about the kind of optimal nutrition that our bodies need. And I've discovered all the things that our bodies definitely do not need. And I am thrilled and delighted that my skin has cleared up. I can't tell you the pleasure that I get when I look in the mirror in the morning and I wash my face first thing is, well, it's almost immeasurable, because I've had years and years and years of quiet despair. What else do I do to keep my skin in tip-top shape? Well, obviously, let's go back to our little piece of cardboard from yesterday, what skin is all about. So it's about this outer layer, the epidermis. the middle bit, the protein structures, the dermis, and then the hypodermis, which is the bit that's got all the blood vessels in. Now, those three layers, let's look at them. You can see that this bit is holding up this bit and separating it from this bit. It keeps the skin nice and plump, but it also, this layer is protecting this bit. And one of the things that we have to get very loud and clear and in our minds is that the epidermis is a fantastically important and strong protection for the vulnerable dermis and the hypodermis. And it's actually very difficult to get things to go through from that layer to that layer. So all that marketing hype that you read everywhere in all those beauty advertisements about how this is going to go in and structurally alter the collagen and the elastin and all those claims are mostly poppycock. They're not true. It is not true that by putting creams on the outside of your skin that those creams are going to structurally alter your dermis and all those protein structures that are in there. However, that does not mean to say that by using topical creams and other preparations you can't significantly and in some cases dramatically improve the look of your skin, because you can. So how do I make sure that my skin on the outside looks good? Well, first of all, I do quite frequently exfoliate it, and I quite like the Soap and Glory products, which you can get in Boots, partly because they're so cheap, but also because they are actually quite effective. And exfoliating is one of those things that I think everybody should do on a fairly regular basis, because what it does, it rids your superficial skin, the absolute outer surface of your skin, of dead skin cells. So your skin is constantly renewing, as you probably know. So the dead skin cells, if you slough them off, then they've gone and your skin is brighter and fresher, and it brings blood back up to the surface. So actually using something like that maybe once a week, and it leaves your skin lovely and soft and smooth. And then if you really want to go to town, something like this little Soap and Glory Miracle Moisture Mask here, pop that on, have a nice soak in the bath, and then take it off, and lo and behold, your skin has had some really good restful deep hydration. So it's good for it. Obviously, in addition to doing things like that, every day a skincare routine that feeds and nourishes your skin is incredibly important. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the sort of good ingredients to have in skincare. When I first started to research the whole subject of skincare and what it could do, what it couldn't do, what you needed to have in it, and so on and so forth, I realised that, it was a very interesting subject, but also the same old things kept coming up time and time again. It didn't matter what I read, it didn't matter where I read it. The truth was that there were certain key things that your skin needs to have in order to look good. Now, just as your food and the nutrition needs to be high in vitamins, minerals, and all that kind of thing. So if you've got a really good balanced diet that's got lots of fruit and vegetables in it, seeds, nuts, omega-3 fatty acids, and all those things, lots of protein, a good balance of protein, carbohydrates and fat, then that is going to nourish your body, and in so doing nourish your skin from the inside. And on the outside, the best way to have good skin is to make sure that it's really well hydrated and also fed with those vitamins that do it good. So how to keep it really well hydrated, and this becomes more and more important the older we are, and it comes back to this key ingredient, which is hyaluronic acid. And it's everywhere at the moment, but it is true to say that this is the one thing that does make a difference. Now, I think of hyaluronic acid a bit like a very thin layer of sponge that I'm putting over my skin, clean skin, first thing in the morning. And the effect of that, the fact that it acts like a sponge, it draws moisture, by which we mean water, into the skin, onto the skin, and holds it there. So you're almost putting like a mask of delicate light sponge over your face, which is going to draw and hold moisture for you if the ingredients has got enough concentration of hyaluronic acid in it, which ours has. We've got a special offer on this at the moment. We've got 15% off if you want to buy that. The offer is in the email that you've received. So that's the one key ingredient, hyaluronic acid, and the other things are vitamins, basically. So when it came to our day cream, we worked very carefully with an extremely good group of people to produce what we wanted. You know, they said, what do you want this cream to do? How do you want this cream to perform? So I was very, very clear what I wanted. Yes, it's got to be a cream that's very, very good for older skins, but in it, and this is the research that I've done, it must have hyaluronic acid, it must have vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin B, and so on and so forth. And also things like peptides and retinol. Now, retinol is a form of vitamin A, but in prescription strength, it's quite dangerous on the skin because it makes the skin very vulnerable to sun damage. But if you work, as we did with good people, they have managed to put retinol into our day cream, but in a form that's suspended so that you don't get the sun damage, fortunately. So I am very happy, and we did a lot of testing, a lot of sending back and saying, no, don't like the way this works, and so on and so forth. It took us nearly 2 years, but I was the principal person to say, yes, fine, no, this is not fine. By the way, our day cream does have SPF in it. However, if you want extra SPF, then obviously wear a sunscreen underneath. But the key thing is that you have got within your skincare those nutrients that are going to improve and affect the epidermis, because there is very little that you can do with topical creams to affect the dermis. So I hope we've cleared that one up. I think that's all I want to say, really. I hope that was helpful to you. My main clear, loud and, really shouty message around this is that we are very much what we eat. And I have discovered this, as I said, after a long and torturous 70 years of life, that food is not a punishment, it's not a reward, it's not an inconvenience. For most people, it's a huge pleasure. But actually, if you eat the foods that your body needs in order to be healthy and in order to function as it wants to function and be happy, then eating the right foods and having the right nutrition is absolutely essential. And when it comes to your face and in terms of care of your skin, then using preparations like exfoliants, moisture masks, good serums, day creams, night creams, and so on, really do have a very beneficial effect as long as they have the right ingredients within them. So, as I said, I hope that was helpful to you and you enjoyed that. I'm just going to finish with something really sweet. I like to finish with something that's positive. I had a lovely email from my granddaughter Freya last night. I said in my blog on Sunday that one of the pleasures of lockdown has been my daily email with Freya, who's my 10-year-old granddaughter, with whom I'm very close. And this is what she wrote to me last night. Dear Granny, before I start my email, I'd like to tell you how much I appreciate you mentioning me as one of your things you like during lockdown. You mean as much to me as I mean to you. If I ever end up writing a blog, I will be sure to mention my awesome granny in it. So there you go, watch out. Her name's Freya Stern, so she could well, in many years to come, be writing a blog, and I shall look forward to reading it if she ever does. So thank you for listening and watching. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about really comfortable shoes. So I shall look forward to talking to you about that. Bye-bye.